Hey, everybody.
Hey, what's up? Sorry, I'm not that fast. I was trying to share it on my personal wall, and I got bored. I'm just gonna write live, and then
That's
that's
what
how.
happens. That's what happens when you start a live broadcast. Like sometimes things don't go as planned. We're hoping you don't freeze
Yeah,
today, Joe.
yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. So, how you guys doing? Good.
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good. How's
And
COVID-19?
crazy. I was just because we just got a notification saying that we have to start wearing masks in our. We have like a personal gym in our building, and we just got a notification that we have to wear it also in that gym, which honestly makes sense if you have to wear it in every closed room. But I just can't. I'm a bit perplexed as to how we're going to work out with masks on, but it's a different topic. So
Yeah.
you,
It's hard.
you
Hard
and
to
Mel have gone to the gym, right, Joe?
Yeah. No, I've gone to the gym. And I put a mask on. It's difficult, specifically if you're doing cardio. If you're doing like weights, it's
Right?
not so bad. But like cardio, it's brutal. You're like suffocating on the machine. So I don't know. I get it why they're doing it. Just it's definitely adds more challenges, which is tough for gyms because gyms are like impulse type purchase, right? They make money not off the people that go, they make money off people that don't go. So the fact that there's all these extra barriers, it adds extra excuses or levels of reasons why people don't want to go. And so it's like they're going to get butchered on new members and all that type of stuff. So it's definitely a lot of challenges for them to.
I'm like, it's not good. I feel like it's especially when you're working out and really like sweating and like breathing intensely. Like, it can't be good to be breathing in that air back. Like I don't know. It's just not.
I don't know. It's difficult for sure. It's definitely challenging, but it's okay. Whatever. At least we have gyms. At least they're open, right? Like at least we have that option now. So
I'm hoping that this will plateau and then it'll all be worth it by a little bit. So
Hopefully.
Yeah, it'll go. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get back to normal at some point. Everyone will be paranoid for the next 20 years, probably, but okay.
Rightfully paranoid.
Yeah. So today, what I wanted to just touch on, I just wanted to build a bit on a conversation that I had with one of our newer clients recently, and I think one of the things a lot of businesses or new businesses, or even if you're working in a marketing department of a company, you really have to understand benchmarks of success. And what I mean is that if you have the wrong benchmarks of success, you could be running the most successful marketing campaigns in the world and not know it. And the reason I'm saying this is that as companies try to push, I don't want to say for growth, or at least to get back to where they were, they really need to establish the proper KPIs. So KPIs meaning key performance indicators. So what that means is it's imperative that everyone understands the LCV of their client. So I know a lot of you are going to say, what the hell is LCV? LCV is lifetime client value. Okay? I don't know why I randomly am playing with this.
Your co-host.
Super random. But LCV is lifetime client value. So let me give you an example of a marketing campaign that's run properly, that is not assessed properly. Okay. Let me give you an example of, a gym's a perfect example. Okay. They need more members. They're dying, let's say, to get new members. So they come to a marketing team, or they do it themselves, or they have someone internal, and they say, okay, we want to try to get 100 new members. Okay. And let's say it comes to $10 a month per membership. So that's $1,000 of revenue for them. If it costs $1,500 in advertisement to get those 100 members, is that successful or not successful?
You want an answer?
Well, I guess so. Would you deem that successful or not? Because technically we spent more money than we made.
I think so because you're not thinking of long term, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So before we even assess that, a business has to understand the average duration of a membership lasts how long? 12 months, 16 months, 5 months, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years. Average. And average means you might have someone there for 10 years and someone there for 1 month. So that means it would be 5 years, right? Usually we try to keep away the outliers and really focus on the main group. But that means that you didn't make $1,000 of sales. You made within the next 12 months, $10,000 in sales or 12,000, and it only cost you 1,500. Now with a gym and something that there's recurring revenue, it's a bit easier to track something like that, right? It's a bit more straightforward. With a lot of companies, and let me give you an example, business to business ones, okay? Or even business to consumer. You know what? Best one, which is a combination of B2B and B2C in a way, is real estate agents, okay? So let's say a real estate agent makes 2.5% commission on a house, comes to anywhere between like $5,000 and $10,000, depending on where you live in the world, okay? And they run a lot of marketing campaigns, very competitive industry, very competitive market. And they end up spending $4,000 in advertisement and they got one sale at $5,000. Now, on the surface, you're like, man, that's a lot of work for $1,000, right? Like, because it's your time, your effort, your energy, the ads, the this, the that. You're like, that's not really that great. The question that the real estate agent has to ask themselves is that, what is the lifetime value of that client? Will they come back in 5 years and sell again? Will they refer their friends? Will they refer a mom or a dad? Will they also buy a property with you? It's super, super important that you understand that value. Because if you're like Joe, the average order value, we cannot get confused, okay? AOV, average order value might be $5,000. But within a 3-year period, we're probably gonna get 2 to 3 referrals and they will come back for something else, which is another $15,000. Okay, so you've made a short-term profit for a long-term investment, because when those people come back, the ad spent to get those referrals is pretty much near to nothing. So it's extremely, extremely important that you understand the lifetime value of a client. Doesn't matter if it's business to business, retail, a store, doesn't matter if it's a restaurant, LTV. Restaurant's another great example. Okay, someone walks into a restaurant and a dinner for two with a bottle of wine is, I don't know, what is it called? $100, I guess. I don't know.
You haven't been out in a while?
Top $45. 22, and the cheapest wine that comes from a box.
Smells like a girl.
Yep. Listen, that's what you get from me. But let's just say the average human being will spend, let's say, $100 for a dinner for two with a bottle of wine. So the margin on that, the markup on it, let's say is, I don't know, 50%, 100%. So let's say it's the cost on that is $50 after operating expensive cost of food and everything. So they made $50. How many advertisements did you have to do to get the person in that restaurant? Is it more than $50? There's a strong probability that whether it's social media posts or branding or Google or whatever, videos, graphic designers, there's a good chance that cost is going to be more than a $50 per acquisition, because it takes time to get someone in a restaurant, right? A lot of impressions, you got to stay in their face, like they always, people always say it's like top of mind, right? So if it costs $60, you lost money on the initial sale.
Yeah.
You literally spent all this effort in marketing. You got them in the restaurant, you served them, you gave them great food and great service, and you lost $10. Like at the surface, it looks like the shittiest business deal of all time, right? Mm-hmm. But if the average client in this restaurant comes 2 to 3 times a year, well, wait a second. You've just generated now, let's say it was 100% markup or whatever, 50%, depending on how you look at it, then you've just generated $100 of, or minus the $10, $90 of profit from these 2 people at the end of the year, after the ad expense and their 3 trips. So you would be surprised. I would say probably 90% of the clients out there that we speak to, or marketing teams, they don't assess the lifetime value of a client properly. And they only look at the surface. That's why sometimes even e-commerce stores, especially when they're brand new, I hate to just look at the direct conversion rates, right? Because you say, oh, I spent $1,000 and I made $1,200. That's not great. Right, but that's initial value. That's initial LCV. That's like the initial sale. What is the sale and the value going to be in the next, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, right? Depending on how your cash flow is a business and depending on how much, liquidity you have, that LCV can be stretched. You might only have a 12-month window, a 6-month window, but you really got to look at the big picture. One of the biggest mistakes people make in marketing their business or in business in themselves is they're too narrow-minded in what they're looking at. They're just looking at the wrong numbers. So the worst thing that you could possibly do is you're losing money on an initial sale But the reality in this whole situation is that you're actually making long-term profit, and you shut down the marketing campaigns.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're, pissing away hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars by doing that. So that's just really, really what I want to talk about today. Is just really LCV, 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 LCV. You're going to do business. You're going to do marketing. What's the lifetime value of a client? First thing you have to establish.
Is there a way though to quantify that? Like, how do you quantify an LCV, or is it something that like you just have to realize is going to be like circumstance, like by circumstance, it's going to happen? If you're running marketing, you're going to have the LCV.
Well, that's a great question. So there's two ways to do it. One is if you're a startup, and one if you already have sales, right? So if you're in a business that's already established, you should be able to establish the LCV, even if it's not exact and you don't have that exact data. Like, any business owner is going to get a pulse on something, right? They're going to say, well, the average person probably comes 3 or 4 times a year to the restaurant. Like, they can guesstimate it, at least to some level of accuracy. If you're a startup business, then you need to determine what that benchmark of success will be on your business. And what that means, what I'm saying is that do not think that your initial cost of acquisition will be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you feel a good client? A lot of it is feeling, right? Or you can use industry benchmarks. The average person goes to the restaurant they like how many times a year? I don't know the answer. It could be 3, could be 4, could be 5, could be 2. I don't know. But you can use industry benchmarks as well for it. And that's how I would sort of establish it. And it doesn't have to be anything exact or anything perfect. It can evolve over time, but at least needs to be in part of the thought process.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I want to get on to talking about some stuff in the news, like we like to do. So the first one I wanted to talk about is something that Taylor tells me you have an opinion on, and I also have an opinion on. So I think you and I can go back and forth on that, Joe. So Instagram is letting people run their own fundraisers soon. Like, they're testing this right now. It's supposed to be available globally. When I say run their own fundraisers, I don't mean like for actually established charities. I'm talking about like a GoFundMe for people's tuition, or just for any projects they have in mind. Instagram will allow people to actually take money. I bring this up not because of fundraising, but because, do you think this will essentially like change influencer marketing?
Okay, one second. So you're just so I understand what they're trying to do. They're saying that, like, oh, I understand where you're getting from. You're saying, so an influencer now that has 50,000 followers or fans could say, hey, fund my tuition, and then their followers end up doing it.
Yeah.
Will it change it? No, I think I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. Influencers are going to get a big freaking surprise how little goddamn influence they have. It's going to happen. And I've said this before. There's influencers, like, people forget what an influencer means. Influencer does not mean the amount of followers do you have. That doesn't mean like shit in my world. Okay. You can have a mom with 5,000, 2,000, 1,000 followers that has significant influence over other moms based on the games and activities and stuff that they post. And then you can have this girl in a bikini with her boobs jumping out that has 1 million fans. Nobody's going to give her $1 unless it's to log on to a fans only page where they're going to see nudes of her. Like, it's stupid, and it's but that's the reality. You're not influencing anybody. You have no influence. No one gives a shit what toothpaste you use. It's so, you know what is it going to do? Let people do it. If you can collect money for nothing off people, good luck. I really think they're going to get a real freaking eye opener on how little people care. Now, if it's for a cause, that's something different. If it's for a foundation or a charity, I think it's great to allow people to find ways to sort of be able to donate easily. I think that's amazing. If it's to pay for someone's tuition, you start towing the line there on what people should pay themselves. But I also could understand, someone's got ambitions and you got to go for it. If it's for someone to fund their vacation,
Do you think people will do it though? Like, do you think someone you really like, a celebrity, for example, like you really like this celebrity and like they've fallen on hard times? Do you think random people are gonna fund it?
I guess, what does fallen on hard times mean, right?
I don't know.
you know, I see sometimes GoFundMe pages of people whose like spouse passed away, and they were kind of like maybe not like A-rated famous, but like B or C-rated famous. Like you kind of knew them, and I see people donate $10 and $5. That's you know, I get it, but at the same time, if it's people being like, I want to start my own business, everyone donate $10. Like,
you think them? Yeah,
I
it
don't
would be
think,
like your close family members, right? Just the people who,
yeah.
It's because of the accessibility. Like I feel like on GoFundMe, a lot of people do come up with GoFundMes, but there's a step there. You actually have to create the GoFundMe. You have to put some information in. Like since it's on Instagram, like you already have an Instagram. Like to add that link in there is not really gonna change your life so much. So you can put it up and be like, maybe someone will donate $1.
Yeah, maybe, but at the end of the day, I'm telling you, 95% of the influencers don't influence anything.
Yeah.
Zero. They have absolutely zero influence. Nothing. Zero goose egg. No one cares what they do. You know, if they're great at what they do, like if it's like a bodybuilder and he gives great tips and nutrition stuff, they're gonna have influence in that realm. But a lot of it is just like, here's me on vacation.
Yeah.
Here living the life. Like, let me tell you, you know, I've been poor and I've been successful, and generally the people that put all those posts are losers. They don't have no success. There's nothing. It's garbage. They show pictures in front of private jets. Not their private jet. They probably literally walked up to a terminal and took a picture in front of a private jet. Like I've seen it. I've seen people take the most ridiculous post and post the stupidest things, you know. Like I even saw when I was in London, I saw a selfie store.
Oh my god!
Make selfies in ball pits and like with backgrounds and like there's this facade on the internet that people are successful and they're doing this and they're doing that, and it's just not. It's not reality. It's not true. Yeah. And there are some people that are, and then there's other people that are trying to be the copycats of it. Like it's not real. It's fake and you know, listen, if they can collect money from it because people like their content so much, great. But I guarantee you, I know a girl, not personally, but I saw her on Instagram. She's super pretty. She's got like 1.3 million followers, and like everyone's commenting like she's a gorgeous girl, and she cuts hair at a barbershop downtown. Not that there's anything wrong with cutting hair at a barbershop, but she has 1.3 million followers.
Yeah.
And obviously she can't monetize it. So like you know.
But do you see any value at all in influencer marketing? Like if a business were to approach like an influencer, how would you do that? Like, would you do that? Is that even profitable at all?
Well, it's going to depend on the influencer and it's going to depend on the cost.
Okay.
Marketing at its base roots, and I've said this in the past, is all about dollars and cents. Okay. So if you got 2 million followers, couldn't give two shits. Makes no difference. Okay. You're going to promote my product. What's going to be the traffic to my site? How many leads or how many sales am I going to get from it? And what is the LCV of that? If you're telling me that you have 1.4 million followers and I'm going to get 2 million impressions, so still makes no difference to me.
Yeah.
How much money am I going to make from it? And you got to know your numbers so you can track that back. If the person's got 2 million followers and the cost is, I don't know, $500, and you break it down and you're like, yeah, I'm probably going to generate a positive ROI on this, do it. It's just another avenue to generate traffic. If the person thinks that they have influence and it generates zero, which is going to be the majority of the cases, then no, it's not worth it whatsoever. Zero. It's not worth it at all.
Okay, I agree with you. I thought we were going to disagree because I'm not pro influencers specifically, but I have ran campaigns with influencers specifically for the fashion industry, and it can work for that. Yeah. And I know of a few influencers who don't have a ton of followers, but the followers they do have are engaged with them.
Yeah, that's actually better.
Better. Absolutely. So I think a lot of the caveat is a lot of businesses fall into like the pitfall is they look at just the followers, which first of all can be bought, second of all can be bought, BOTS, and it gets to a point where that's not what you're looking for. You have to look at the specific engagement.
Yeah, and I think another thing too for all you influencers out there that think you're the shit. I'm going to give you a bit of reality check, okay? So Facebook in the past, which owns Instagram, how they used to work when they had fan pages is that if you were able to acquire 5, 10, 15, 20, 30,000 fans, 100 million fans, whatever it is, and you would do a post, a vast majority of those fans would see your post organically for free, right? A lot of value there, a lot of free exposure. When they changed their advertising platform, the free exposure that you get is near to nothing, right? And I've used an example, I won't name them on here, but a Canadian company that's got about 400,000 fans, they do a post, the post gets 2 likes.
Yeah.
That just shows what type of organic exposure they get.
Yeah.
Who owns Instagram? Facebook. Okay. And so what's very, very important is that you understand that there's a high probability that they're going to monetize that exposure at some point too. And then you no longer have influence because you don't have reach. And the only way to have reach is to put money behind it. And if you put money behind it, why would I give you the money? I can just do it for my own business.
Exactly.
Right. So now, then you're going to say, well, there's TikTok and there's Twitter and there's this and there's that. But if you're going to build a business and a brand off a third-party website that you have no leverage on, you gotta have a backup plan because they switch their algorithm, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, 100%. Yeah. And speaking of TikTok, because I was actually reading something this morning about more and more governments banning TikTok. So because TikTok, we don't think about TikTok as an avenue to advertise on, generally because traditionally the audience has been super young, right? Mm-hmm. But more and more older people are getting on TikTok. My gosh, older people, in their 20s, you know what I mean? 20s and 30s. Do you think so old? So do you what is your opinion on TikTok?
But why are governments banning it? Because they did that thing to the Trump rally? Is that why?
Well, no, I think it's privacy concerns because TikTok, there's not a lot about what they're doing to protect your data.
And there's a lot of sexual stuff going on, I think, on TikTok. I was looking at some news articles, and there's a lot of concerns with literally people
using it for, oh my God, for real?
Yeah.
I knew that. I know Pakistan's trying to ban it for in immoral activity, but it's Pakistan, so I wasn't sure if immoral activity could mean stuff like a lot of nudity, not half nudity, bikinis and stuff like that, or it means actual porn.
Yeah, well, they do. It's a Chinese company that owns it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, going to be the biggest flag nowadays, right? Is all this information and videos and pictures and everything that goes on TikTok. I don't know how much people actually care about privacy. It sounds stupid because I know people fight tooth and nail for it. I really don't know how much they care in the grand scheme of things, because we've known that Facebook and Google and every website you go on, they're harvesting your data and what you do. And we still do it. We still go on it, right? I understand that there's a lack of control on certain things with TikTok, right? It can get out of hand and there's no government regulations. On top of it, you're dealing with a Chinese company. When shit hit the fan with Facebook and the whole election thing a couple years ago, they were able to put sanctions on Facebook. They brought Zuckerberg in that famous, when I think it was Congress or something, that they brought him to speak to him. It's an American company. There's a certain level of control. When you're speaking about a Chinese company, you don't have any idea what they're doing. You don't know what they're doing with the data. And it's a good thing too. And I'm not saying I disagree what they did, but wasn't that K-pop band or something pushed their TikTok viewers aggressively to sign up for this Trump that was happening? So what happened is that they pretty much slammed the Trump website so hard with traffic of people booking tickets to the event that people that wanted to go couldn't, because there was just they couldn't even log on and all the tickets were sold. And then Donald Trump was like, this is going to be the biggest rally in history. They were setting up screens outside. They were like, there's going to be 20-something thousand people. There's going to be another 20, 30,000 outside. It's going to be the biggest thing ever. And in the end, there was 5,000 or 6,000 people that showed up. And they thought it was going to be 40, 50,000 or something.
Holy crap.
What that shows is that if media in a and people with a lot of reach are not able to somehow be controlled, they can really influence things in a negative way or in a positive way. Now, regardless if you like Donald Trump or not, that can influence speaking events. It could influence how they promote themselves. It could influence. I mean, it's no different too there, right? Like, if there's a protest or something that's going on, and somebody jumps on a bandwagon to rip apart a small business, if the person has enough influence, they can destroy that business, and there's no repercussions, there's no nothing. So, media and people that have a lot of reach that don't have repercussions for it can be dangerous. And I understand why they're getting nervous with TikTok.
That makes sense. But could it be the same with Twitter, or do you think Twitter would have monitored that already? You know what I mean?
I don't know if it would be different from Twitter. I'm not 100% sure, but what I can tell you is that at least the government feels they'll have more control over it. Like, at the end of the day, the government can shut down Twitter, right?
Yeah.
You can say you're in violation of this, you're trying to fraud the elections, and that's it, or screw the elections, which essentially is what this TikTok camp strategy with this K-pop band did. So at the end of the day, yeah, I don't know. I think there's just so much of a lack of control when you're dealing with a Chinese media company that it can get scary. And then when you're dealing with young kids, the TikTok generation, their brains aren't developed yet. Like, I think they say, like, and as an adult, your brain develops like by 23, 24 years old, 25 or something. Like they're so easily influenced. And I mean, if you've ever spoken to like this 16-year-old or 17-year-old, very strong, opinionated person that doesn't know shit what they're talking about, it's because they've absorbed all this garbage media that's not true, that makes no sense, right? It's like people still think that the world is flat, and they will jump on that bandwagon. It's insane. It's absolutely insane that someone would think that. It is the dumbest thing that anyone has ever come up with, but people still think it's true because this media is able to influence sometimes this young group of people and convince them of things that are just not true. So it can be a bit nervous. Yeah.
It could be used it could be used positively, but also negatively. Because I don't know if you guys remember I think it must have been a couple months now with the Blackout Tuesday. And it was like all about putting the black square on Instagram. That went viral like instantly. And it's that was something, that they used positively, but then people jump on the bandwagon for so many bad things at the same time too. So it's like, such a finicky thing, because you don't want to, there's so much potential, but then there's also so much.
I mean, look at what Facebook had done. I mean, it's been a couple of years now. I mean, I don't know how many years, but because of Facebook and Facebook groups and events, they were able to mobilize people that toppled communist governments.
Yeah.
Like it's like, I don't know if you guys remember what happened in Egypt. Like when they were trying to get the old, I don't know what if he's considered a president or what, but like the Facebook allowed people to mobilize that toppled the government. Are they better off now than before? I don't know. I don't know anything about Egyptian politics, but like Facebook allowed people to mobilize better than ever before, and the world changed because of it. So there's a lot of positive that can come out of it, but at the same time, there's also a lot of negative that can come out of it. And then where the problem is what's the fine line between freedom of speech, stupidity, racism? Like, what's the fine line? Like I don't know if you guys remember, there was that that protest in Charlottesville, where that young girl was killed. It was like a white supremacist type thing. Well, that was organized on social media.
Yeah.
So then you're like, well, they shouldn't do that. Okay, so who's the person that's sitting there in the king chair at Facebook deciding what is good and was not good, right?
Yeah, Reddit came out like under fire recently, and a lot of people agree with it, but I agree with it as well. They banned a lot of forums that were previously quarantined. So they're still under quarantine for the moment, but the issue is that the forums were the Red Pill, which is like kind of anti-feminist forum, as well as pro-Trump forums. So like subreddits. So they came under fire for censorship recently. But at the end of the day, it's their platform. They can ban anything they want to ban from being spoken about. Reddit started as a way to freely talk about stuff, but it's become impossible to moderate. Like, you can't have millions of people moderating all day, making sure that nobody is organizing events that hurt people. exactly. At one point, you have to do what you have to do. That's my opinion on that. But
yeah, but then the same time goes, like here's an example, okay? And I don't have the answer for it. And I'm not saying that censorship shouldn't be a thing that happens, because I think it should be. But at the same time, this is the difficult situation that we're in digitally, is if someone wants to host an event in, I don't know, Miami, Florida, for a naked bike ride, is that okay or is that not okay? Because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be against it, saying, well, there's kids in the area. You can't just ride your bikes naked in the area. You're like, is that okay or is it not okay? I don't know.
it's a good question.
Is it going to be censored? Is it not going to be censored? Like, are you hurting somebody or you're not? What if somebody has a very aggressive opinion on Donald Trump? Is that okay or it's not okay? I don't know. If someone wants to have an event where they're going to have backyard boxing, is that okay or it's not okay?
It's Fight Club.
Yeah, I don't know. It happens all the time, right? Like, is that okay or not okay? We start towing the line on censorship. We start towing the line on what is okay and not okay. And then the question is, who defines what's okay and what's not okay? And that's the scary part, because you want to censor stuff, but then you're also not sure what do we lose when we start censoring things too, right? So it's I don't have the answer on what's the best way to go on something like this, but it's definitely going to be one of the biggest talking points of our generation.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And Walmart has pulled Walmart and a bunch of other companies have pulled their advertisements from Facebook because of Facebook's unwillingness to censor. So it's going to be a big debate that's going to involve corporations, going to involve just regular people. It's crazy. It's a big
topic. And they can pull the budget if they want. At the end of the day, Facebook's advertising platform is really good. And they can pull it. They're going to be back on it at some point.
Yeah.
And for everybody else out there, all these companies that are pulling out of Facebook, it's better news for you, because your cost per click is going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
And take advantage of it, because.
Yeah. But also Facebook has, I don't know if you noticed, but over some articles, they have like the banner that says can partially contain false information. So they're doing a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, which in itself too is a form of censorship, right?
Exactly.
But at the same time, then if someone's just spewing out dog shit that makes no sense, it's really a really tough. Really, what needs to happen is people need to think for themselves better. It doesn't matter if you're watching CNN or Fox or what you see. Like, we're bombarded with so much information in so many different viewpoints. You just have to use your brain. And I think one thing that people need to really consider is stop thinking that everything that happens in this world is like this massive conspiracy. Like, it's killing people at this point. Like, when we talk about the coronavirus and wearing masks, like, I don't understand why people are protesting in the street. Like, put the goddamn mask on. Like, at a worst case scenario, the masks do nothing. They do absolutely zero to stop the spread of coronavirus.
You're still just wearing cloth.
Yeah, so we're inconvenienced for the next couple months.
Yeah.
Big shit, right? As the worst case scenario. The best case scenario, it reduces it by a fraction of a percentage. If it reduced it by 1%, I understand why they're doing it. So I don't understand why it's infringing on our rights, and it's like, come on, like, is that the fight that you want to have? I don't know.
Agreed. I agree with that. But like, to play devil's advocate with TikTok, like, it's to children. So like, you know what I mean? That's the scary part, because it's a whole new generation. So we can be talking about this forever, to be honest. Like,
sorry. Went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, we're out of time for this one. Okay, on the same point, Joe, forgetting about privacy completely, okay? DoorDash and many other companies are sending their data to Facebook. Can this be a good thing for marketing?
Okay, what does that mean, sending the data to Facebook?
So that's a good question. Taylor had the same one. Taylor, do you want to explain it to me as I explained it to you?
Sure. So basically, it's they get all of this information by people ordering on their platform, and then they'll provide that sort of database to Facebook in order to be able to better target people based on these likes, like based on whatever they ordered on DoorDash. Then they'll be targeted with different restaurants than someone else who ordered something else on the menu at DoorDash.
I guess to some extent, we all sort of do that on websites, right? Because when we put that remarketing pixel on people's websites, it tracks their IP address and what they do. So, I mean, it's probably essentially what DoorDash is doing is they have a remarketing pixel that's pushing data back to Facebook that it then allows them to market those users better. I don't necessarily see a problem with that. Where I see a problem is when they would take my personal, because if I'm just an IP address,
You don't care.
it's not such a big deal, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to customize the ads to me as a user and a consumer. I don't have a problem with that. Where I would have a problem with it is you're like, Josef Azam,
Exactly.
this is from these restaurants.
His address.
Yeah, this is his address. And because of that, because of his food and that his food bills are over X amount of money, make sure he gets pamphlets in the mail for Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, for sure.
That I would have a problem with, because now you're taking my personal choices in food or whatever it is, and you're trying to sell my personal information to a company that's going to leverage it for something completely different. That I have a bit more of an issue with. But, in all honesty, I mean, again, it also comes down to, does it really matter?
Yeah.
Like think about it. If all of a sudden I was getting targeted with ads with Mercedes-Benz, like, would it really, like, what does it do to my life? Like, is it really a big deal?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of when we're talking about the remarketing pixel where your IP address is stored, there's a lot of things that you can't market. So like if someone searches for, I don't know, Viagra, and they end up on the Pfizer website, even if their IP address is stored, they can't be bombarded with, erectile dysfunction ads throughout the internet. Because,
Oh my God, eh?
I mean, essentially, really, if they didn't have that clause in there, you would, right? Imagine every time you're like on the internet, you're like, wow, I don't know why I'm getting.
You're like browsing at work with a friend, like.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they have kind of already some restrictions for stuff like that.
Okay.
I agree with. But besides that, I mean, I kind of
since we grew up with it and we're kind of used to it, we're more okay with the fact that we just know that they have our info and it's just the way it is. Whereas let's say my grandparents and that older generation, if they I remember we set up a Facebook account for my grandma and it was like 101 questions to make sure that they wouldn't have access to this. They wouldn't have access. Like it was like this whole fear of entering the online world and making sure that people couldn't really see all of her personal information. But for us and younger generations, it's become such a necessity and such a thing that we've been wrapped up in that we're more lenient with it, let's say.
Well, we understand the cost, right? Like the price of being off the grid is just too high.
Yeah.
For sure. There's no choice. You really got to be digital savvy nowadays if you want to have a certain level of success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
So yeah, for me, I think it's a great thing. Like I want my ads that I see on Facebook to be more tailored towards me. Like I don't want to be seeing some especially now I don't browse too often. I'm on more for work. So I'm seeing ads that don't pertain to me at all. And if we're going to have a world with ads, might as well have
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's important too. And at the same time too, those of you that are like, Facebook, don't take my data and I don't want this tracked, and then don't go on Facebook. Like you don't have to be on it. If it bothers you that much, Facebook needs to make money. They need to pay their employees. People gives out free bananas to their team at the office. Like someone's got to pay for that. And you're not paying for it. You just go on it for free. You get to use all that technology and that data. You get to connect with the world. You get to watch these videos, everything for free. Someone's got to pay for it.
Yeah.
So you're paying for it with your browsing.
That's the thing. You always pay for it somehow.
That's it.
Nothing's free.
Yep. Nothing's free in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cinzia told me something completely messed up that I could not get over. And you might be okay. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one freaking out.
I'm okay with it. I would eat it.
What?
Yeah, I would eat it.
KFC, I don't know if you heard this, Joe, but KFC is starting to 3D print their chicken in a laboratory to make chicken without using actual chicken. What are your thoughts on this?
Interesting. Well, I can tell you this. When I was a kid, anybody who's grown up poor, KFC is the shit. That's all we used to eat. Like our like dinner, like where we go and like eat, like we didn't go to restaurants. I never saw a menu in a restaurant till I was like freaking 20 years old. Like we go to KFC and we get like a little bucket of chicken and their like green coleslaw and their and then yeah. So I used to eat it all the time. And then as I got older, I stopped eating it. I just, like you go to other places and you just don't think of it. And then maybe about a year or two ago, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to KFC. Like I haven't had it. So I went and I got it, and I was like, what is this greasy, disgusting food? It was it is absolutely like, before they focus on printing chicken, maybe they can focus on not absorbing half of the oil reserves of Kuwait in their buckets, because it is so greasy. And like I've eaten at the restaurant in the US called Chick-fil-A.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that place is good. Like that place has got it down packed. Their food is delicious. So first of all, that's my thoughts on KFC. If you want to die of cardiac arrest, then that's probably where you should go on a regular basis.
I can't wrap my head around the whole 3D printing chicken thing.
It's weird, because I'm very curious what vegans think about this. Like, would they eat this or would they not eat it? Right? Because it's technically nothing. It's meat, but no one's died from it.
Is it actually meat though? Because I don't know the science of it, so I don't know if it's a material that is being because when you 3D print something, you have to use something as a base, right? So what material are they making it out of?
That's a thing.
That's actually the big question, right? Because I know that there's now, like, you can buy like chicken breast that was made in a lab, but it's actually chicken. It costs like $200 a chicken breast. It's just chicken.
Oh my God.
It was artificially made in a lab. Same thing with eggs and all that type of stuff. It's already started the process. It's just not cost effective. Is it worth it or not? I don't know. I'm going to tell you why I wouldn't touch that stuff is because, once upon a time, people thought cigarettes were good, right? They thought it was good to calm your nerves, and it was like a perfect treat after a hard day's work. And then we realized that it kills you.
Yeah.
Right? And it gives you cancer. And when we're starting to screw around with food, it's already happened, right? We already screw around with food enough. Yeah. Now we're gonna create it in labs and we're gonna eat it. Like, what is that gonna do to us in 15, 20 years? So I don't know. I probably wouldn't touch it. Definitely an interesting thing. I just don't understand. They're investing all this money on understanding 3D printing. Like, maybe they can just make their food a tiny bit healthier.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's their. I think they don't care about health. It's taste.
Yeah, I mean, you know what the sad thing is that, and like I've been there, like as a family, as an individual, is that when you don't have a lot of money and you want to treat, unfortunately, very unhealthy food is all you can really afford. And when you're stressed and you have a difficult life, you take a lot of pride and joy in eating that bucket of chicken. The reality is that, instead of trying to make things always cheaper and cheaper, maybe they can make them a bit healthier and a bit better. Because when you eat that type of stuff, it just doesn't clog your arteries. It clogs your brain.
Yeah.
Like, you lose vitamins and nutrients. And I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to eat once in a while. Like, it's,
yeah, for sure.
I just don't understand why that's where they're going. Like, I feel there's just so much more they can do.
Right? The angle is off. Like that has artificial written all over it. Like, it's literally artificial. Whereas someone like A&W is really taking the same sort of standpoint, I guess, and making it meatless, but such a better.
Even McDonald's, like, in their Happy Meal, I'm not saying McDonald's is any better, any healthier, but like, you can get apple slices instead of French fries. You can get a yogurt thing instead of like, they're trying to provide at least some diversity, at least a little bit of a healthier option.
Yeah.
Like, KFC is just grease.
Well, they're using chicken, apparently, according to my quick Google, they're using chicken cells and plant material to reproduce the taste and the texture of meat. So it's really a texture thing, because I don't know if you eat a lot of vegetarian or vegan options. It's the texture really that's missing. Like, you can reproduce the taste, the saltiness, the kind of meaty taste of it, but the texture's always off.
Yeah, I think the question that people have to ask is why would people eat that? Is it because it's supposed to be healthier? Is it because you care about the chicken? Like, why? What is the reasoning for them to do it? I'm not sure what it is, because or is it to save costs? Because I'm not convinced that the individuals that eat KFC on a regular basis give a shit about the chickens.
Yeah.
Like I also don't see people that don't go to KFC to be like, oh man, they have that new artificially printed, chicken nuggets. I really want to go and try it. Like I don't see that either, right? I don't know. I'm very on one side there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it all goes back to the environment, like usual, like we talked about last week with the cow farts. Like it all goes back to the environment, trying to make the environment better. But I guess we'll know in a few years whether or not this was on the right side or the wrong side of history. So
yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think it'll be a while till we see like chicken being printed in a printer.
Can't believe that.
You know what, Joe? In a few years, if it actually happens and I eat it and I'm fine and I don't have like an extra limb coming out of me, we'll talk.
You know what? If there's, I want you to think about this, how far-fetched this freaking concept would be, okay? If you have 3D printers for food, okay, the capability to print food, imagine if that device can actually be a home use device.
That's cool.
And you would like literally fill in your basic ingredients, right? Like whatever, I don't know, maple syrup here, this here, that here. You literally buy it in jugs and you put it in and then you download chicken nuggets from McDonald's website and you literally print them in your house. Like imagine having that. I mean, I'm assuming that probably the technology is there for something like that. But imagine what the future can hold with something like this if it actually comes up to something. Like it's the same thing where they have 3D printers in space, right? They have them in space because if they need a nut or a bolt or a screw or a part, they could literally print the components up in space. They don't need it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost the same thing. Like who knows what's going to happen with that? You can have any food you love anywhere you are from any remote place as long as you have internet connection.
That'd be really cool because there's a lot of food waste and a lot of the food waste isn't even like in our own homes. Yes, it is also in our own homes, but is in transportation.
Yeah.
So you would lose, like, of course you want stuff fresh still, but you would lose that food waste element as well if you're 3D printing most of the stuff in your home.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And also, guys, I'm sorry, I have to plug this because a friend of mine just came up with a new app about food waste, and I think she'd kill me if I didn't mention it. So it basically, it's on the App Store only for Apple currently. It's called Cookiesy, and it honestly is so cool. It takes, it finds recipes based off stuff you already have in your pantry.
Oh wow!
So you like enter in like if you have like something going bad, like you enter in like I have like scallions, and it'll find recipes with scallions. So check it out.
Oh, good stuff. That's a cool concept. I love that. That's really good.
Go download that right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what I can figure out in my house. I have peanuts and Doritos in the cabinet.
Oh my god! I hope it. Could you imagine if we found a recipe with just peanuts and Doritos?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, the peanuts and
encrust them with Doritos.
Yeah, sprinkle Doritos on top. Yeah, that's cool. Good.
Download it.
Thank you, Taylor.
Awesome.
Okay, do we have another topic?
I think we can cap it off at there for today.
Okay.
And kind of get back into it next week.
Yeah.
All right, I had a great talk with you guys.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah, and it's for all the people out there that listen to this, whether it's the clips or the videos, it's obviously this is a new show for us too, and a new way of trying to do things. Ultimately, our objective here is to try to, feed your guys' brains with different ideas. You don't always have to agree with us, but overall, the feedback's been pretty positive. As always, if you have questions, just send them our way, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah. So bye guys. I will talk to you later. We will see you next week at the same time, 2 p.m.
Cool. Next week. Bye.